All right, guys, so we're doing Daphne now. All right, Daphne has several pieces of for her minimalist cartoon applique, couple of different pieces of fabric. So the first one we're going to do is a sunset orange for her hair. Then you're going to need some sort of pastel peach, a fleshy color. And then you're going to need a dark purple for her dress and a green for her scarf. Then mauve for her lips. And then we'll come back to this purple for her hairband. And color stops 1 through 12 can all be done in black. If you're on a multi-needle, you're going to want to put stops between every one of those color changes. If you're on a single needle, it ain't no big thing. The last color stop is going to be lime green for the jeepers across her dress. And the other thing that you want to be thinking about is when you use fabric for applique, I always fuse a little SF101 behind it to give it a little bit of heft, a little bit of density, and you want to iron all of your wrinkles out of it. So we're going to throw this into the machine and run color stop 1 for our dye line for Daphne's hair. Back in just a minute. Okay, folks, there's Daphne's dye line for her hair. So we are just going to float this piece of fabric right there, put it back in the machine, and run color stop 2. Back in a minute. And there we go. We have Daphne's hair. So we are going to just trim that out. And we want to get as close as we can to the zigzag without actually cutting the zigzag. If you snip 1 or 2 of the zigzag stitches, it's not going to be an epic Greek tragedy. You are not going to have to start over. The neat thing about a zigzag is there are stitches to the left and the right that are not going to come unstuck and unravel the whole thing. The other thing is you want to keep the tip of these scissors. Ooh, I did not get close enough there, did I, guys? The tip of these scissors pointed up so that you are not gouging your base fabric. So if you have a little bit outside of a good trim, you don't have to worry about it too much, because this is a 1.5 millimeter zigzag and your satin's going to be 3 millimeters. So it should cover fine as long as it's just a little bit of an oopsie and not a whole big giant oopsie. You've got about 0.75 millimeters of oopsie to play with. Arrgh. So once we get this trimmed out, we are going to put it back in the machine. We're going to run color stop 3, which will give us the dye line for our face and neck color. And boom, almost done. And then we will float a piece of face / neck fabric and tack that down, and just keep repeating that process over and over and over until almost the end, where it's the big giant satin stitches and detail lines, and then the Zoinks lettering. She's Jeepers, not Zoinks. All right, now, there we go. Throw it in the machine, run color stop 3. All right, folks, there we go. Daphne's face outline right there. Float a little piece of flesh-colored fabric, put it in the machine, and run color stop 4. And you're ready to rock and roll. And there's Daphne's face. And we're going to go ahead and trim that out. Then we'll put it back in the machine and run the dye line for her dress. And I don't know. I've given the same set of instructions a dozen times, and I don't know which video is which and who I'm doing and what I'm at. And blah, blah, blah. Remember, carefully keep the tip pointed up when you're doing your applique, so you don't catch either her hair or the base fabric. If you've got a nice pair of sharp applique scissors, you should be able to get a good run going. You know, it just, ooh, I'm off camera. Yeah. Where you just, there you go. And the key to that is pulling away the fabric a little bit. There you go. Throw it in the machine and run the dye line for her her dress. We'll be back in a second. And that took almost no time at all. So we are gonna float some purple right on there, right there. And we're gonna throw it in and do our zigzag. Back in a second. And there she is. There's her shirt or dress. I guess it's dress. So what we're gonna do is we will trim that out and then we will put it back in the machine and we will run color stop 7, which will give us the dye line for her green scarf. And then we will float our scarf material and then we'll come back and we'll trim that out. And then the rest of it should be, oh no, I've got to do her headband. So let's go ahead and get this trimmed real quick and back in the machine so that we can do her scarf and her headband. Then it will be all satins and lettering and it's easy peasy. We're cruising on out of here. No problem. There you go. Put her back in the machine and run color stops 7. And I don't know if you can see it. There's the dye line for her scarf. So let's go ahead and float our scarf and then run color stop 8. Back in a minute. And there we are. There is her scarf. We will trim that out and we'll put it back in the machine and run color stop 9, which will give us the dye line for her lips, her luscious, luscious lips. 10 will tack down her lips. 11 is her headband dye line. 12 tacks down her headband. 13 does all of our satins. And 14, I'm thinking, this is from memory, guys, does her words. So there we go. Let's go. Let there be lips. Luscious and lovely. We're gonna float a little bit of pink right over that and run the next color step to tack it down. And look at those lovely, lovely lips. Let's go ahead and trim those out. And now we'll throw it right back into the machine and get the dye line for her headband. Back with a headband in just a minute. There's our headband. Let's go ahead and take a little piece of fabric, put it right there, put it back in the machine and run color stop 12 and then we'll trim it out. All right, all we have to do is trim that out. This is the last piece of applique for this pattern. We'll put it back in the machine and we'll run the last 2 color stops. Bada boom, bada bing, and thank you very much. And she will be all done. And I will come back after that to show you the finished product. Boom, just like that. All right, put her back in, run the last 2 color stops.